Your people do not walk in the sands of blood.
Relax, E.T. I'm looking for the Mutador.
Go back to Earth.
But I am the bravest of my race. Always did have too much mouth.
Such mishigas.
Hello, and welcome to Who Are You? It's a Babylon 5 watchcast by two friends who are getting to know each other over the show Babylon 5. I am Laura.
And I'm Xhafer.
And today I get to ask Xhafer the question. Xhafer, who are you?
Who are you? Who are you?
Do you know who I am?
I noticed you changed it a little bit there.
I did. I didn't intend to.
Yeah. No, it's good. Because, I mean, really, we're not strangers anymore. We were when we started this, but now it's been months on months.
This is our season 1 evolution. We're now friends.
There we are. Congratulations. It happened. We're friends now.
It's podcast official.
So, who am I? I touched on this a little bit last week, so I figured it was appropriate to follow up on. I was actually planning on saving this for later, but then I watched this episode. And I feel like it's appropriate for this episode.
Okay.
So I am a hobbying mixologist. I would never call myself a mixologist, to be absolutely clear, because I think that's pretentious as shit. But it does communicate that I like making cocktails and other things of the nature, alcoholic or otherwise. So I guess it's the word. So yeah, I really enjoy making all kinds of fun cocktails. Usually when I host a party, I will make some themed cocktails for whatever the evening is. At my work, we used to do happy hours back in the before times. And I was kind of the guy who helped serve beer. Even when I had first started there, before I was a member of the management team or anything, I helped serve beer because they needed someone to kind of step up and do it. And I had apprenticed at a brewery when I was in college. I talked about that when I talked about home brewing a number of episodes ago. So that kind of put me in the position when we went remote to go, hey, you know how to make a couple cocktails, right? And I'm all like, yes. They're like, could you record a little virtual happy hour thing where you show people how to make cocktails before we do whatever virtual work event we're doing? Sure can. So I recorded a handful of these. I've actually got them unlisted on YouTube right now.
Oh, nice.
I don't know that I'll share the link publicly because I do talk about a little bit of work stuff in there.
Yeah, if it's work stuff,
it's
I get
kind
it.
of a line. But yeah, so I do that. I've made all kinds of fun cocktails. I have a handful of kind of signature drinks that I make. My favorite is a raspberry gin sour. It's my go-to cocktail, or at least was for a bit. I have a instant infusion set up. I'll do long-term infusions of my own alcohols. I'll do instant infusions where I use nitrous cartridges and pressurize a container to basically do a 2 or 3 month infusion in about 3 to 5 minutes.
Wow. That's speedy.
Yeah, and it's real good. It's really nice for things with fresh herbs or flavors that are would spoil. If it was something that you would put in a container for a month and it would be gross after a month.
Yeah.
You can do those kind of infusions that way. And so I've done all kinds of stuff, all kinds of cocktails. It's just a lot of fun for me. I'm not a particularly heavy drinker, but I enjoy making cocktails for people a lot. I could go on for forever about cocktail history. Is super interesting to me. It's intrinsically linked to the history of sailing.
Oh, yeah.
The first what we consider to be a cocktail was the El Drake, named for Sir Francis Drake, who originated it. And it's basically the mojito.
Oh, and those are delightful.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just one of the first things. A lot of it is sailors would have to drink tonic water when going into South America.
Malaria lands.
Yeah. Or Africa, and it'd be a whole thing wherever they had the malarias. And so these tonic waters, not our current tonic waters today, are not traditional tonic waters.
It's the quinine that's missing, right?
The quinines, you can get tonic water with quinine, There's a handful of other things as well. Quinine is the main medical ingredient, which I get Q tonic, which has quinine when I make a gin and tonic. And then I also have some chihuahua bark extract, which is another common ingredient at the time. And I'll eyedropper a little bit of that into my gin and tonics usually, because I like the flavor and it's a more traditional experience. And that's one for me. But it was really a way for sailors to like avoid malaria and scurvy. And also traditionally, especially British sailors would receive something called a tot as part of their daily food supply. It was considered part of their payment, a tot being a shot of rum.
Yeah, okay.
Also, this is where the term proof comes from, because when they would crack a barrel of rum, when you're barrel aging something, wood is porous, you will lose alcohol to evaporation over time. And if it is under 100 proof, it could theoretically spoil. Right? Now with modern stuff, it's not really a concern. Everything's very sterilized. It's not really an issue. But when you've got open basket, not open baskets, but you've got barrels on the open waves, in the ocean, and you're sailing and there's all kinds of crap.
Yeah.
Who knows what else is going on in your stores? Who knows the sanitary level of the decks? All kinds of problems, right? And so it was very important that the rum be strong enough to survive. And so it's called proof, because they would have to prove that it was strong enough to survive in the wilds. And the first thing they do is they'd pull a shot and light it on fire, which will not happen if an alcohol is under 100 proof.
Oh, okay. Got it.
This is also why you'll sometimes see rums labeled sailing proof, and they're like 120 or up.
Oh, cute.
And because this is kind of part of my identity, I've made friends in different bartending circles. I've bartended a handful of weddings. Sometimes I was invited to bartend. Sometimes I just end up bartending. It happens quite a bit. But because I have this kind of a reputation, and I've made some weird drinks with some weird stuff, when someone sees something and they're all like, I don't know what good this is for, but I know someone who will find a good use for it, they gift it to me.
Okay.
And that's what I've got sitting next to me right now.
Okay, I was wondering when we were getting to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm supposed to guess.
If you want, you don't have to.
What it is?
Yeah, what I've got sitting next to me right now.
Okay. So you just told me a bunch about cocktails.
I did.
But you said that it wasn't going to be related to what you talked about, or not directly.
Tangentially related.
Tangentially related. You also said it's related to today's episode.
Oh, did I? You're paying attention.
Boy, that's a thinker. So did you make a cocktail for this episode?
That was what I was leading you to guess.
Yeah.
That is not the case.
Damn.
Why don't we get into the episode? Let's get into the episode, and when the time is right, I'll bring it out.
Okay, that's an interesting way to segue into our episode. Let's do that though. Let's talk about Babylon 5 Season 1 Episode 18, TKO.
TKO. We open on the first White Star of the series. That's a little joke. It's a cargo ship, but it's named the White Star, which is fun because that's important for later.
Yeah, fun Easter egg for later, y'all.
I mean, if you really like a name for something, you use it a couple of times.
I mean, just copy paste a little bit. I get it. It's fine.
Yeah. I will say, forever ago, before Elon Musk bought Tesla, I was super interested in them because all their cars were named like Red Star, right? Or whatever. And they were going to do a White Star.
I mean, I would have been all over it. Yeah.
I would have been all over that. 100%. I was ready to buy a White Star. And then Elon Musk came in and it became the Model S. It was just
lame. Well, this White Star has a couple passengers that are disembarking, and one is Rabbi Koslov, and the other is Walker Smith, and they are getting off at Space TSA. They've had a conversation on I almost said plane, on the Starliner, it seems like. And they seem pleased that they had that conversation and got to know each other. So that's a nice touch.
Yeah. They have, a little bit, Walker Smith, we tease a little bit of his mysterious past, TM. There's also a fun little fact about Walker Smith himself. That is the real name of boxer Sugar Ray Robinson. That's what they named the character after.
Yeah. I don't remember if you mentioned that to me last time or if my husband mentioned that to me, but someone had already told me that.
I did not bring it up last time.
I did not know that myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and just mention here that I did like a deep dive on all of the guest actors in this show, in this episode, because
did you? Good, because I did not.
Okay, well, I did, and they're all very interesting, and most of them are not alive, including this gentleman who played Walker Smith. He died pretty young, 42, I think.
Mm-hmm. And not the exact same day, same year, but the same day as Sugar Ray Robinson.
No way.
Yep.
And you said you didn't do a deep dive.
That was with my normal notes. I didn't look into the actors that much.
Wow.
If that was not presented to me with the he was named after, I would not have known it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Anyway, I'll mention more about them when we get farther in, but I just wanted to say I put some effort into them because I found all of them very interesting. So
okay. Well, Walker and Garibaldi talk, and we get a little bit of Garibaldi is full of shit to commercial. And when we come back, could you go ahead and scrub to 3 minutes and 39 seconds for me?
I think I know exactly what you're getting at. Hold on.
There's a bar. Pretty standard bar, right? Can you look at the background of that bar?
I see darts.
Do you see a sign in the back of that bar? That's right. Space Zima.
I was 1 second off, and so I had to scroll back a second because it's not at 3:40, friends. It's at 3:39.
Yeah.
Zima is still around in the future, guys.
And it's right here.
Oh.
As I mentioned, people will give me things sometimes. I've had this for about 5 years. This is from the re-release of Zima in 2017. I've never tried it. I have no idea what it tastes like. It's been a joke on my bar for years. So now it's a joke on this podcast, and we're going to go ahead.
All right. I want to hear it. What is Zima?
What is Zima? It tastes like it's gone bad, or it smells like it's gone bad, I should say.
No.
It smells a little...
Well, don't put your health in danger.
No, that tastes like...
Swishing it around, everyone.
Well, it is. It is a citrus beverage, as it is labeled. I don't know that it is refreshing. That's not good. That is not good. I understand why you went out of business.
Is it not good because it sat for 5 years, or you think it just wasn't good?
I don't see, there's like nothing floating in the bottle or nothing that is the typical like sign of vinegaring. There's no like mother of vinegar cloud in this. It's very clear.
Did you say it was refrigerated or not?
I chilled it before drinking it just now.
But it wasn't kept refrigerated for 5 years.
No.
Okay. Just curious. Okay.
Yeah, it's got kind of a terrible aftertaste.
Yeah.
It tastes like a very bad Smirnoff Ice that is not as sweet.
That's apparently what we like in the future, guys. Get ready.
So this was not sponsored, by the way. They found this sign, and JMS put it up completely as a joke. Because, and I quote, like Zima's going to make it to 96, let alone the 2260s.
I think it must have made it past 96, though, right?
I don't know when they stopped making it.
I don't know. I mean, that was all before my drinking years, so I was not clued in.
Okay, well, that will be an empty bottle joke sitting on top of my bar soon. But that is not good.
This is what the listeners come here for, the antique booze reviews.
Right? Surprise.
Where else can you get that with your Babylon 5? Tell me that, guys.
After this scene in the bar, we cut to... Oh, did you have more for the bar? I'm sorry.
I have more for the bar. Did you not catch the Total Recall reference?
I did. I did catch the Total Recall reference, yeah.
They're having their conversation about the other place where the waitresses all had three. And I'm pointing at my chest, everybody, because that's exactly what they did in the episode.
Yeah.
And I looked this up too. I was like, is this referencing Total Recall or is it referencing something else? And this did come out after Total Recall. So I made sure it's definitely referencing that. Oh, and of course, Smith also hassles Garibaldi about his drinking. I think we get several episodes here in a row where everyone hassles Garibaldi about his drinking past.
It's good.
That's good for alcoholics,
keeps him on his toes, right? Yeah. Constantly remind him of the pain that he's been through. Yeah. I'm sure that's going to help him heal a ton.
Yep.
After this, we cut to Ivanova reading Harlan Ellison's Working Without a Net.
Mhm.
Did you look into this at all?
I did. I'll
Me
let you
too.
deliver this one.
So this is the planned name for Harlan Ellison's autobiography, Harlan Ellison being a famous sci-fi author and also a consultant on the show.
Yep.
He had stated he planned to write it around the year 2000 when this aired, but he never wrote it. He did work with a biographer on a book that his notes to write his autobiography eventually became, called A Lit Fuse. But there's something more interesting about the Babylon 5 universe here. This is actually the first point of divergence that we know of, because the stuff that happens in the past with alien races doesn't count
Mhm.
in our timeline and the Babylon 5 timeline.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Because this book didn't come out in the year 2000.
Uh-huh.
That's chronologically where the timeline splits.
Oh. That's it. The year 2000.
Yep, that was it.
Over a Harlan Ellison book.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's reading that Harlan Ellison book when Rabbi Koslov arrives at her door. She's very delighted to see him. He was friends with her father, and he was entrusted with her legacy when her father died.
It's Uncle Yassel.
Yeah, I looked up the actors because of Uncle Yassel.
Yeah.
Like, I thought, wow, this man is really too good at being a rabbi. Could he, was he actually a rabbi?
Mhm. Was he?
But he was not. I don't think so. I mean, his Wikipedia is extensive. Theodore Bickel, I'm not sure how you say it, was a Austrian Jew. He was born in Austria in 1924, which was probably not a great time
Yeah.
to be in Austria and be Jewish. And he and his family fled. I think they went to Mandatory Palestine, it says, which I had never known that was a name. But no, he had like an extensive folk song career that included lots of Russian folk songs. So even though he was Austrian by birth, went to Mandatory Palestine, went to London to study theater, didn't go back to Israel when the war happened there. He also had this extensive music career that he just knew, like, I think it said he'd sung in like 20 languages or something.
Wow.
With, I think, albums of Russian folk songs. He produced music and festivals with like Bob Seger and Bob Dylan. And he was on the board of directors for Partners for Progressive Israel, and Jimmy Carter appointed him to the National Council of the Arts.
Oh, wow.
And he was just all over the place doing everything. He co-founded a credit union. He just sounds like he was a really amazing person. He must have been maybe the most accomplished person on this episode. And you really see like his fatherliness in this character. And I believed him the whole time. He was very good.
Yeah. So the rabbi gives Susan a little low-key shade for not being able to make it to her father's funeral.
Mhm.
And it's revealed that she hasn't sat Shiva for him, which is a big deal.
Mhm. She insists that she's been too busy.
Mhm.
And he says, well, let's have dinner. And he tells her for the first time that her father would be very proud.
Mhm. And they set a time for dinner, and then we cut to Walker and Garibaldi talking, and we get the backstory on a fight that Walker wouldn't fix. And while they're talking, we are introduced to Mutai, which is alien blood sport.
Yeah, that is apparently allowed to operate on Babylon 5 for some reason, even though it has killed 5 people and disabled 10 times that number.
Right? That's a ton. That's a lot of casualties and fatalities.
And Garibaldi is letting this happen. He is chief of security. Very strange to me.
This name has to be a reference to Muay Thai. The Muay Thai death match is a thing. It is known. That's what Jean-Claude Van Damme has a movie series where he competes in these.
Okay.
But also they're I don't know how rooted in reality it is, but
Mm-hmm.
it is a known quantity to me.
Sure.
The Muay Thai death match and Muay Thai. It's just a little too close.
Yeah.
Especially for what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't seem coincidence. Smith seems to believe that winning this Muay Thai will help him get his career back. And he kind of racistly refers to busting a few snakeheads.
He says that a couple of times.
A couple of times.
It's not okay.
Not a good look, sir. He wants the sports corporation to take him back, which I think Sports Corp is a hilarious name.
Sports Corp.
Yeah. Well, we know what they're about, don't we?
Yep. Meanwhile, the rabbi goes to Sinclair to talk about Susan. You know, he was unaware that her father had died.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
We get some backstory on her brother who died in the Minbari War, and that's why she joined the service.
And her father resented her joining the service because he feared losing her the same way that they lost their son.
The rabbi asks Sinclair to grant Ivanova leave, which he's just like, yeah, of course. Like, yeah. She can go now.
Yeah. So then we go to the rabbi and Ivanova having dinner at Fresh Air. Interestingly, they're eating a Centauri fish, and the rabbi asks if it's kosher. I thought that was cute.
Apparently, there was a whole written scene discussing like alien fish gills, scales, and fins, and what does and doesn't count to try and determine if this thing is kosher. And it apparently just derailed the episode completely.
Oh, man.
When they put it in the cut, so they had to take it out.
But I need to know. Damn it.
Right?
That would have been fun. Ivanova asks how things are at home, and the rabbi says, if regret could be harvested, Russia would be the world's fruit basket. How do you feel about this right now, Xhafer?
Oh, is there some kind of current event going on that would make that line more poignant than normal? I gave up on the news. Sorry.
Russia is Russia. If regret could be harvested, Russia would be the world's fruit basket.
So anyways, the rabbi reveals his meddling, and Ivanova is not happy.
Yeah.
And she leaves dinner to commercial. We come back to Walker disrespecting the sensei.
Oh my God. Isn't this just cringe?
Ugh.
You know, because we've watched a lot of TV in our lives, that when he's talking to this person, that this is the important person.
Yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
The most important person. All persons are important, I suppose.
The old guy who's hosting, holding judgment over people at the dojo. Read the room, buddy. You've been in a boxing gym before you got in a boxing ring. That was like this, I promise.
Yeah. He calls him E.T.
There's no way that reference survives 2260.
I don't know. That's a Spielberg movie, right?
Yeah,
good.
But when was the last time, like just in your life, the last time someone referenced E.T.?
Okay, point.
Yeah.
So he knocks Smith out, orders him to leave.
Gets banished from the dojo in quick order.
Yeah. They're back in the Zocalo, and Smith is stewing about being sent away, and Garibaldi chastises him for not respecting the snakeheads, which I was like, finally, Garibaldi says something sensible.
It only took 18 episodes.
Angry, Smith storms away, and I just want to point out that I'm a little bit maybe dense, and I told my husband at this point, I was like, why do we keep saying stroke off? Like, this is a silly thing. He's like, because you can't say fuck off on regular network TV. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It's like,
speaking of which, looks like the Babylon 5 reboot was put on indefinite hiatus right now.
I
pending
heard.
the sale of the CW.
Yeah.
I'm really, really hoping this means it ends up on HBO Max and
Right?
they can just say fuck off.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want super edgy Babylon 5 from HBO Max, but just being on HBO Max should be enough. It doesn't need to be like the Harley Quinn show or something.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't need to take it like Game of Thrones levels of stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah. No, I would be okay with it being on HBO Max.
Just give it that Peacemaker money.
Everybody start
You've got it.
tweeting HBO.
Pick up B5, do it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, and then Caliban finds Walker and has
Mhm.
another way for him to participate in the Muay Thai,
Of course he does.
in the Muay Thai. So that's the thing. Meanwhile, Sinclair calls Ivanova to his office to offer his condolences. She explains why she couldn't go, and he's like, okay, that was actually kind of an emergency.
Mhm.
It's a good job for seeing it through to the service and everything.
Yeah, but now it's quiet.
Go now. Yeah.
Mhm.
And she's all like, nope, back to duty. And Sinclair's just all like, nah. And I got to say, Michael O'Hare, knowing especially that this was later in the season,
Mhm.
he acts the hell out of this scene.
Yeah.
He does real good here. Oof. I felt it in watching this scene.
Yeah, he has that big commander dad energy. You know,
Mhm.
some commanders are very military or very strict, but he's got the dad energy. He's got the I care about you and I want you to be a healthy person energy,
Mhm.
not just be a good commander or be a good subordinate, but he cares about her as a person.
After this scene, we cut to Walker and Garibaldi talking, and Walker is just lying to Garibaldi's face, and he knows. You can tell he sees right through it. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll go watch the match that night. Nothing weird's going to happen. And Garibaldi, I feel like he's waiting the entire time for the other shoe to drop. And it does. After a couple of fights, Walker does that thing at weddings where the officiant rhetorically asks if anyone's going to stop the wedding, and everyone's supposed to sit there in silence. But he does the thing. And he's just like, his challenge is accepted. He'll be the first human to fight in the Muay Thai, and we get casual death threat to commercial.
Yeah. The other aliens are not happy about this, and they are wanting to stop Walker from making a mockery of their customs. And to be fair, I mean, up until this point, he's called them snakeheads and disrespected their space.
Yeah.
And
No, he's been a real shitbag. So,
yeah. Like, okay, I see your point. Angry Drazi. He's a Drazi, isn't he? The one who speaks and makes
there's a
threats.
Drazi there. Yeah. I don't remember if it was a Drazi
Yeah.
who issues the death threat.
Let's just pretend that for
Okay.
now. So we come back, and Rabbi Koslov comes to Ivanova's quarters.
Mhm.
He delivers her legacy, which is a samovar that's been in their family since the days of the czars.
Yeah. It's used to heat water, usually to make tea. I did look up what a samovar was.
I've actually seen this before in a weird context. And I was like, oh, so those are going to make it to, the Babylon 5 times. Great. Great.
At least this one does.
Yeah. He's going to leave tomorrow. He asks
Mhm.
her one last time if she will sit Shiva. And while she appreciates what he's trying to get at, but she's not able to forgive her father, as he didn't show his love when her mother was taken away by Psychor, and
Yeah.
she needed somebody to love her, which it's totally fair. Children need love and security.
Mm-hmm. The rabbi laments the tragedy is worse than he knew. If she
Mhm.
cannot forgive, she cannot mourn. If she cannot mourn, she will never heal from the pain.
Yeah.
Yep.
He tries to continue, but she insists on going back on duty and leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Garibaldi goes with Smith to meet with this Caliban character, who is the only guest actor who's still alive. So apparently the actor who is the Mutado was a big Korean American actor.
Okay.
He was the voice of Mulan's father
Oh,
in
okay.
the original Disney Mulan. Or, well, they're both Disney Mulans, but the original one, cartoon, not live action. And he was also in MASH a bunch. I think when I was looking at it, like almost every one of these characters was in Hawaii Five-0 at some point. Not characters, actors, excuse me. But yeah, he was a big actor. He passed away of Alzheimer's, I think, in 2018. He was 85.
Wow.
Then the actor who plays Caliban, still alive, also in Hawaii Five-0, did these sort of martial arts movies, it looked like.
Okay.
So they did get a bunch of martial arts actors for this episode because that was one of Gregory McKinney, who played Walker Smith. He was in several types of those, as was Don Stroud. So, interesting group of people in this one.
Yeah, there's definitely like, I mean, it's not, it didn't feel super like, I mean, most of my martial arts experience is, you know, I've talked about it before, historical European martial arts, you know, the sword fighting and stuff. And so I don't have a lot of exposure to most what we would consider the traditional martial arts, or at the very least, the normalized martial arts, regardless of its culture of origin. I've done a little bit of grappling here and there, but not a ton. So, but it did feel, a lot of the body movement felt right to me. And a lot of that stuff is things that carry over, like the footwork and things.
I would not have been able to tell. I assumed it was all great.
So it didn't feel like, oh, this is actually fighting, but it also didn't feel this is hokey, shitty TV fighting. So,
yeah. Caliban is going to take on the role of coach. He explains that his last fight was against Gior, who is the, what did they say? Shaolin? It means champion. Shorin.
Yeah. Shorin.
There we go. So I guess we're taking from that his motive is kind of like revenge. He wants to coach the person who beats Gior.
Or at least is going to try.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Ivanova goes to see her uncle off at Space TSA and decides to sit Shiva after all. There's a nice little moment of reflection there.
Yeah. I believe he says something again to the extent of, your father would be very proud of you. And then she remembers her last conversation with her father that changes her mind. So she's going to sit the Shiva, and she wants Rabbi Koslov to stay and help her. Yeah.
This is really juxtaposed with Walker training further. And we get this, he sees his story on TV, you know, and he kind of builds himself up a little. And we get a real feel-good 80s thumbs up moment where Garibaldi's like, you're the best around, and no one's ever gonna take you. Like, it's just playing in my head as like this thumbs up freeze frame happens. It's really bizarre.
Yeah. This episode, when Aaron and I were watching it, it was like there's a lot of like songs that you can feel in this episode.
Yeah.
So Ivanova goes to CNC, and she approaches Sinclair and informs him that she would like to take his offer of leave. He grants it and also says, hey, I want to go be there. I would like to be at the Shiva. So it's conducted in Susan's quarters. Sinclair and a small group of extras that we've never seen gather in her quarters. So I assume these must be the Jewish community. Not her friends, because we seem to know her friends.
Yeah.
They turn up to provide support, to pay their respects. Susan is finally able to forgive.
I will say I was surprised Franklin wasn't there.
Yeah, I mean, he's her friend, right?
Yeah, he's just not in this episode at all.
True.
And maybe he just wasn't around when they were filming this one for whatever reason. But I feel like this would have, if he was going to have like 10 seconds in this episode, this is where that 10-second. Yeah.
Good call. She tells some stories about her father, that she had a teenage obsession with a neo-communist author. I think that's how she described it. And she went to a reading of his, and he called her a bourgeois twit. And her father stood up to him and said that he should have been horsewhipped through the streets of St. Petersburg if he wasn't a man of peace. And so she's finally able to remember some of her father's love, even if it wasn't expressed in words. It was expressed in standing up to mean people. But then we go back to the Muay Thai fight. Woo!
Yep. They go back and forth for a bit. Garibaldi stops Walker from getting shot by those aliens.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to Shiva again, where Ivanova reads a traditional prayer in English so that Sinclair can take it in.
Sinclair and the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she finally cries for her father, which ends with a hug from Sinclair and the rabbi. But we cut right back to the Muay Thai.
Yep. As JR would say, this is a real slobber knocker.
Is that how they say it?
He's a wrestling announcer. And sometimes in wrestling, they'll do this thing where they're both exhausted, but still kind of like punching each other, taking turns.
Yeah,
And
that's definitely where we're
that's
at.
what he says. Usually it's kind of like one of his lines. So
Yeah. The Mutado declares this fight a draw because they are just
Mhm.
going back and forth, punching each other. The
Yeah.
crowd starts chanting Gior's name, but Gior
Mhm.
stops them and then leads the crowd in chanting Smith's name instead.
Yep. And they're both bloodied up. Gior's blood is like latte foam. I don't understand why, but it's really weird looking.
My son really enjoyed this fight. He was like, he's bleeding out of his eyes. And I was like, oh boy. Yeah, boys. So we go back to it's the following day. Kozlov bids his farewells to Ivanova and Sinclair.
Mhm.
He had said to Sinclair when he spoke to him earlier that Babylon 5 was a great miracle. And so he says, take care of this great miracle. And
Mhm.
Sinclair replies to him in Hebrew, and the rabbi is impressed.
Mhm.
Ivanova says she's ready to go back on duty. And Sinclair says, good, because I'm tired of pulling double shifts. Uh, and Ivanova reminds us that Catherine Sakai exists. And says that she will remind him of that next time she's around.
Yep.
So I've watched 3 episodes after this, and spoilers, it's not those 3 yet.
I think she's back in the finale.
I think so. I think that's it.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. What a
Um,
bummer.
No, I mean maybe there were longer term. We got a little bit of episode left. Let's get through this.
Yeah.
Walker is leaving on the same shuttle out as well. The Mutado says Walker has brought honor to humans who may now walk the sands of blood and participate in the Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Big moment. Yeah. Now humans can do blood sport with aliens. Cool.
Yay.
Can't wait for Sports Corp to monetize the shit out of that.
You know they will.
Mm-hmm.
Caliban says he would stand Katao. I don't
Katao.
know. He would be his coach if he came back.
Mm-hmm.
And Walker tells Garibaldi to watch his back, which feels like foreshadowing, perhaps. I don't know.
That's the episode.
That's it.
How'd you feel about this one?
Okay, this may be a controversial move, but I think this is my Babylon 1.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. You may completely disagree, and that's fine. I just don't give 2 shits about a boxing episode.
I don't give 2 shits about the boxing.
I like the Ivanova stuff.
I really like the Ivanova stuff. It's a very important build of her character. It fleshes her out a lot as a person. Ivanova is normally like, we've seen a bunch of terrible shit happen to her continuously.
Yeah.
And it's these kinds of things that allow her to, because she's got more shitty stuff coming. You know, she's going to suffer further in Babylon 5. Because of all of that, she becomes the person that she is at the end. And especially in the like post series, you know, when we find out what she does with her life after everything. Without these things, she would never be that person.
And I don't know if I know that, her life after things, because I haven't absorbed season 5. Like, I've only seen bits and pieces of it. So I don't know that I know that. Yeah, I really like the Ivanova stuff.
The Ivanova stuff is enough for me to give this a 3 out of 5 Babylons.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I figure, you know, the ones, there's got to be a 1 somewhere. And this one for me didn't hit very hard.
Okay.
So I was like, well, we got to have a range. Not everything can be a Babylon 3.
Yeah.
So for me, the boxing plot just did not land
for you.
Didn't matter.
Fair enough.
And I was like, you know what? This is the one. And
is it the one?
Not the one.
Not the one.
But it is the Babylon one. And, you know, we'll move into seasons 2 and 3 and see if those have any down there for me, but I just don't I remember seasons 2 and 3 a lot better. And I think
That's fair. I mean, this is not like I could, if I were to see this listed as the worst episode of season 1, I'd go, eh. I could see the argument. I don't know. I really liked the stuff with Susan in this episode. I thought it was great character building.
Yeah.
Maybe a 2.5, 3. I'm gonna go 3.
Yeah. You stay with your thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've already been down in the 1 range. You've had that feel. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next week we have season 1, episode 19, A Voice in the Wilderness, part 1.
Ooh, I love that our part 1, part 2 episode is in a season. It's not a cliffhanger over a season.
Yes, appreciated.
It is one that I remember.
Mhm.
So there's good stuff that I hung my hat on in that.
Yeah. While investigating seismic activity on a supposedly uninhabited planet, Sinclair and Ivanova discover the remnants of a technologically advanced civilization guarded by a dying alien who threatens to destroy Babylon 5.
Yeah, that little recap fails to mention that the uninhabited planet is the one that they are in orbit around.
Yeah.
So it's not just a planet, it's the planet.
Mm-hmm. That big red one that we see in every episode.
Very important.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be next week. Thanks for tuning in this week. And thanks to Jeremy Siegel at jeremysiegel42.bandcamp.com for our theme music. Thanks to Angry Duck Time Machine on Instagram for our artwork. And if you want to reach out to us, feel free to do so.
At whoareyoud5@gmail.com. And you can tell me you knew Zemo was terrible the entire time. It's real bad.
Yeah.
See you next week, Internet.
Come on, man, don't be like
Stroke
that.
off.